Let me know how you are. Let me know if you are enjoying your Sunday. Let me know where you're from as well, obviously, in the chat. But yeah, all is good. I'll remove all the crap off the screen so you can see full screen. Hi. So yeah, it's looking good, isn't it? Look at this chart. As you can see here, a little bit of analysis. So what we're going to do over this one, we're going to go over weekly charts, see what's going to happen over the next coming, hopefully, months. Next 2 months, hopefully, is usually key for alt season. We need to break above that grey band, and I'll explain that in a minute. But yeah, say hello. Let me know if you can obviously hear me. Bitcoin is obviously dumping a little bit, but we don't care about that. We care about altcoins more than anything right now. Let me just put my lovely little thing on. To be honest with you, this Bitcoin slight dump, it's quite good for altcoins. We'll talk about that. But yeah, let me know where you're from. Let me know where you are, what you're doing this evening, because I've never done a live on a Sunday. I've never done a Sunday video before. So it's always great to see. But the Bitcoin dominance, obviously, tanking. Bitcoin's obviously boring. We want Bitcoin to be boring. Yes, it's dumping at the minute, but ultimately, carry on going and altcoins will thrive, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Obviously, that is vitally important in my viewpoint. As an opinion, as a person, as a human speculator, I think the money flowing out of Bitcoin going into the altcoins is always going to be good. But there may be a little bit of a rumble here if Bitcoin does take a bit of a turn, but it doesn't really matter because over the last month, as we've already discussed in previous lives, this is looking quite good. This is tasty. This is a BTC version of your charts. It's looking green as anything. Even over the last 24 hours, some are doing pretty well. Some have obviously pulled back due to the fact of obviously Bitcoin. And ultimately, most importantly, things have kind of dumped a little bit. But yeah, howdy doo-doos. Altcoin officially started alt season even. I think it has. I think it definitely is pretty much here now. There's an index chart here. This is like blockchain.net. Really good bit of kit. This is like a synchronization of multiple indicators. It's saying no still, but ultimately you've got to be accumulating your Bitcoin, your altcoin essentially when this is kind of Bitcoin season. When Bitcoin's dominant and you see like literally you see these on the floor prices of like basically, you know, when you see stuff like this in the past, it's vitally important you understand that. But once you get your head around that element, that, you know, the Satoshi values of your Bitcoin is going to be worth much more when you buy altcoins at the bottom. That's great. That's what you want. And that's ultimately the game that we're playing here. We're a game of accumulation. So I'll explain a few things if you obviously knew, because this does have to rewire your brain essentially, because you need to look at a certain thing. So in terms of understanding alt seasons, what we need, the direct correlation is that going down. It's tanking on. This is a weekly chart as well, by the way, the weekly stuff. They usually last 100 days, give or take. Like a good alt season, 100 days. Mini one usually lasts 60, 50 days. But you got to understand this. This needs to go down, and the total 2 chart needs to continue going up, get flooded volume in. This is basically a bull or a bear market indicator. If this is trending up, money's coming into the market, it's pretty bullish, right? Since March, it's been quite good. But what we're seeing now, we're seeing a bit of a tail off with the Bitcoin dominance, because Bitcoin's slow, it's sluggish. It's like the volume's kind of not trickling in that. The biggest problem that we've got in markets is Bitcoin has been very, very rampant. It's got all the headlines, but we haven't had that overflow over. We're starting to get that now, which is always good. So what I've been talking about over the last few days is this chart here, this monster chart here. So this is Ethereum, right, in the BTC pair. In my opinion, majorly undervalued. And for the first time since August 2018, we are officially testing this grey box. So we've been below it since August 2018, which is a long, long time ago. Try and picture yourself, where were you back then, before coronavirus, before everything went crazy. You know, we've had one retest, we've had 2 retests. Well, you could probably argue these little retests as well, but we're starting to tickle it now. We're starting to tickle the arse of it. But it's a perfect in-swing. It's a perfect impulse as well. This is a bullish chart. Even if this doesn't break out in this first time, I think it will eventually, because I think if we are starting the alt season, I think it's going to get very, very tasty. And most importantly, if it does break out, when you zoom out, there's been a monster drop all the way down. And if it does genuinely like find that gap. And even if it plugs all the way up to like certain levels, even up to this level here, and does like a 40% move, if you add 40% onto the current price of Ethereum, it's quite tasty, especially if Bitcoin hovers around 30K. Obviously, that doesn't matter, but, you know, it's going to send everything into overdrive. And this is like the main one. This is rank number 2, the biggest market capitalization altcoin, for obvious reasons. But this is the one that will lead the market, and we could get a good few months off this, hopefully, fingers crossed. There's a lot of coins that will pop. Look at the fact of the DeFi space. Look at the elements here. Like, if not even on CoinGecko, but if I go into the top over the course of the week, what to look forward to, what to get excited about, most of these coins are pretty big hitters in terms of DeFi anyways. When you look at the grand scheme of things, more and more money is getting locked up. It's always good. You know, money is flowing into this market quite nicely at the moment, and the interest is there. So that is just Ethereum, right? What we need to look at is what else is looking quite tasty on the BTC charts, because we need to look at the element here of what's in the future. The way I trade, the way I position or hold is I base it off the, you know, essentially the dominance chart, right? It's simple, it's obvious, because when this is really, really high, like up at these levels, I'm looking to buy into altcoins. When it's low, I'm looking to sell into Bitcoin. Then as it goes back up again, yippee, 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 I'm making more money in fiat. But ultimately, the Satoshi values of those beautiful pairs. So let's just look at Polkadot, for example. They'll be on these floors. And look at Polkadot. That's a savage gain. It's ridiculous. And, you know, the accumulation levels on this was pretty savage, even though, like, it was going up in USD prices. But if you have Bitcoin, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So, hi everyone. Question time. Let's have a little look, see what's saying. There's a lot of people asking, is Zill dead? No, I think Zill is perfectly primed. I'll show you it in a minute. It has been absolutely perfectly consolidating. If you look at, let's just look at Polkadot. Polkadot consolidated for ages here. It was boring, and everyone was like saying to me on all my videos, Polkadot is overrated, it's shit, it's fucking over expensive, it's overbought, it's bollocks, it's just a fad. What? Those consolidation bands are very, very important. Zill has got all the technology to absolutely trump everything in terms of the mid-cap field to send it quite heavily. In my opinion, the Ethereum bridge will help, but there's a lot of eyeballs going on to Zill because of the enterprises that are using it and ultimately the sharding element. When you look at Zill now in the BTC pair, it's looking primed to go. This is pulled up, it's pulled back perfectly to support level, it's going to go. If this does a 200%, yeah, and Bitcoin stays stable, it's going to be a very, very lovely little gain. That would be nearly all-time high levels in USD prices if it does that move. And I know I don't want to get people excited, but when alt season goes and it is a parabolic one, and let's just say if it is, Zill in the last alt season did well. Right, it got a lot of eyeballs, it did very, very well, but Bitcoin was a lot lower in value at that point. You know, we've trumped it here, we've formed a high, it's looking very, very tasty, it's a perfect trend on the weekly time frame. If this goes, it will go. And even if we're talking here, we go to 500 Satoshis, for example, or even lower than that, 440, give or take, that alone, if Bitcoin stays where it is price-wise, you know, you're doubling it. You're like 14 to 18 cents, give or take. That is a great move, especially if you're staking it, getting 14% interest. That's good. But this is consolidated beautifully. Even if you look at the USD chart here, it's hardly really, when you look at the daily time frame, it's been consolidating in this level. It's just been chilling out at this level. When you think about it, when coins do a massive growth, they always pull back hard. This is consolidated. A lot of people got volume in here. There's also been a few little troubles with exchanges, with withdrawals as well. So it's important to know that with that element of obviously consolidation, people are buying it, and it will eventually go at some point. It's had a nice liquidity grab here. It's doing all right. So with developments with the Ethereum bridge, that will obviously help it. I've also been talking quite a lot about RSR. This level here is vitally important. Break of this, boom, off it'll shoot, because it's you know, the pressure's there. That's set up to go, but we need Bitcoin to stay stable. At the minute, it's not really that stable, right? It's obviously had a bit of a dump, but altcoins will rally when Bitcoin, and when, you know, that stabilizes, when Ethereum, you know, gets over that edge, the interest will be there. The DeFi space will set off, and obviously the money will spill. We know what happens when the money spills over, and we've got to look and respect that. When you look at this, like, website here, as I mentioned at the start of this here, you know, the element here is, you know, the 100-day level. Like 100 days of an alt season is beautiful. If we have another alt season where it's from February to April, like last time, where it's full blown, it's going to be good for this market. Then obviously May to like July, June time, you know, Bitcoin will probably be quite rampant. Maybe, who knows? But you got to think, Bitcoin is currently correcting right now. And I said in my previous video, I think, you know, previous all-time high levels are 20K. If it happens, it happens. I think it might happen as well. I think 27K at least. I think maybe even 25K in and around this region is very much possible, especially when you look at the higher time frames. When you look at where this can actually fall, and even if it does fall, it's going to be nice and juicy if it's a slow burner. If that is a slow burner and it just trickles down and the altcoins thrive, you will not be bothered at all because you'll be making so much Satoshis, it'll be unbelievable. But we've got to look and respect the elements of the seasons. And when you look at the past and when you look at like start of last year, boom, you know, that was quite a drastic drop. That was pretty heavy. But that was a period of a few weeks. Even if we go to like, you know, the end of February from this point, and we do gradually go all the way down to here, it's going to be great gains. It realistically is. And like already now I'm looking at my portfolio. I think I'm up 24% in the last month in Satoshi value. That's a lot in when you think Satoshis. That's a huge amount. If you start thinking how that metric works, it's savage. It's brilliant. So you've got to be very much careful. And, you know, when you look at the element of like, the money blow off essentially, so the distribution of this supply level, it's huge. And you know, a nice little correction doesn't really matter. You know, for us, it allows things to carry on moving, and it's always good. But yeah, you know, I'm not really that bothered. But the only thing that will ruin this is if Bitcoin finds a massive boost and it blows its top off over over the highs. Essentially, you know, a massive flood of volume coming in and bursting through all-time high 42% move. But even then, you know, unless there's a big, massive news catalyst, maybe stimulus, maybe send it. But I also think the eyeballs are also on the coins that are trending up right now. People are buying into Ethereum, people are buying into Chainlink, all these other coins that are looking quite healthy and strong. So we've got to be careful, ho. You know, all of that. There's some cracking comments already. Crackers. So yeah. Let me know what you think in terms of alt season, if you understand it, if you get it. If you're looking to buy, obviously, you want to be buying the lows, you want to be buying the retracements, the dips. You know, when you look at the fact that the Ethereum dominance strategy is going up and up and up, maybe sending yourself into Ethereum is probably not a great idea if you're looking to just buy straight away. You may want to look for a correction in this, but as I've always said, like, if we break above this grey band, it'll probably get sent anyway. So it's all about risk reward. You know, everything is going to get very much interesting in my opinion. So I need to ask you a question. Can you do me a favor? Smash the like button. Someone just said it in the chat. There's only 117 people that hit that like button. I think we need to slap it a few times. But yeah, let me know in the questions what you want me to go over, because this is going to be more of a live of the weekly proportion in terms of look forward to what could be interesting. There's a lot of coins out there that I feel that will break out, and if it does, they'll get very interesting. Another one as well is VeChain. I've mentioned this a few times. This is like got such a long way to go, and VeChain is always quite positive in an alt season. It always gets eyeballs. It always gets a lot of interest, and it's a high supply coin as well. So the risk reward there is beautiful. So just be careful with that one. Certainly. Alt season will not be delayed if it goes down to 20 to 25k, because you know we've already went from essentially, if you think about it in terms of that, it'll obviously, if you look at USD prices, it will, but we've went from 74 down to 62, right? And in with that period, we went from 42k down to 31k. We're still gaining that beautiful level of like Satoshis. So it hasn't delayed anything. The only thing that will delay it is if Bitcoin pumps hard, as in it goes from 31k, what it is right now, all the way up to like, say 40k in like a few days. If it pops it, that will delay it, because it will send the dominance right up and people panic and people sell. You know, we always see it. We've seen it last time when Bitcoin was pumping, people were selling their altcoins for Bitcoin because they were trying to catch that pump. What we're starting to see now is a spillover from people getting profits or taking profits. They're gradually going into altcoins to build new positions, which is always key. But yeah, in terms of like looking at the token flow, going from the high cap, low caps, whatever flow you want to go for, it's always about Bitcoin. If Bitcoin's in the headlines, if Bitcoin looks good, and it is, let's be honest, I mean, I wouldn't have predicted 31k Bitcoin right now, and people are crying at the thought of a 20k Bitcoin, which is quite funny. But we've got to look at that. We've got to evaluate that, and you've got to think, where will the money go? Well, the money will go into these top altcoins, the DeFi world essentially, and the NFTs and all that random stuff that's coming out. But it's absolutely savage. Let's have a little look at some charts. I've just mentioned someone clock one there. Let's look at AVE BTC, right? Like this, look at that. Boom, bang, off we go, my friend. You know, these are savage. And this was the previous alt season, right? So the previous alt season was, for the DeFi space, was fucking astronomical, right? I don't think people understood how big it was. And it was, and I'm hoping for another one. If you look at AVE, for example, right? Let's just say from the COVID crash time, right? This is what, March 20, right? 2,484% move. It's a cataclysmic move. But you also got to think of like how the alt seasons work. If you were selling and taking money off the table and going, I'm just going to sell into Bitcoin, and then you put a percentage of that Bitcoin back in at these low levels when essentially dominance was at the floor again, essentially allowing you to, you know, that element of understanding when the prices are low. So in this chart here, dominance would be high, okay? Dominance within this period, if I just highlight that level here, so we're on the 3-day chart. If I look at like this sort of level here, right? Just to point this out, the 2nd of November, if you look at the dominance chart on the 2nd of November, we were here. So we were about 63, give or take. So what happened, even then, you got to think, well, if we go back into like September time, even more interesting, because the reason why I'm saying that is because when you look at how the dominance chart works, it's about when you buy it. When you sort of buy it, oh, I've gone onto the wrong chart there. Whoopsie daisy. You know, you got to be strategic, and this is where the accumulation happens and where things get exciting. So if we're starting to look here at September time, it was still quite high for AVE, but ultimately what happened was the dominance turned. It turned from that low, you know, from that high point to that low, and then it went high again. With that high, Bitcoin went rampant. You know, this is where the accumulation levels happen. And when you think, what actually happened in this chart? Well, you know, perfect level on the 786, absolutely huge level, an absolute monster. But the dominance chart was starting to gear up because Bitcoin was dominant. And you think about it, if you were getting your levels in here, if you were like, let's be honest, people will be selling at that easily. But, you know, that's a beautiful thing of it. It's absolutely scary when you think about it that way. Who's kicking who? Let me know what else you want to look at, because I rate AVE. I've just totally missed out on it. I'm absolutely pissed off about it. But it's one of those things, you don't get them all. But, you know, at the end of the day, the market follows this dynamic. When Bitcoin's strong, alts are weak. When altcoins are strong, Bitcoin's weak. It sounds obvious, I know. Buy low, sell high. And all you're doing is, if you know that Bitcoin dominance is high, look at the BTC charts. They'll be low. They'll be lower than what they were previously. And you can look at any coin, look at any sort of DeFi coin. You know, they were very, very low for a period. Look at Chainlink is a great example as well of this, because, you know, I was telling people, Chainlink looks really undervalued. Yeah, I was saying don't buy it when it's high, but buy it when it's low, it'll always do well. And even if you look at this, right, absolutely monster run in the BTC pair. It retraced so much. Imagine, right, if you had a bit of BTC spare and you were buying it all the way down, and, you know, you think about the USD chart went from $20 down to $7. Now we're just gearing up and we're over to what, $24? Bitcoin's still very much expensive versus where it was in the previous alt season. If this goes, whoa, you're going to know about it really, really quickly. Absolutely savagery. I need to look at Luxu. I really, really do. It got mentioned in my Telegram. Obviously, link below, by the way. Jump in my Telegram. There's like 300 million thousand people in there. 3,000 people, I'm joking. But I've not looked at it. I know that it's the guy who invented the ERC20 token for the Ethereum network, which is obviously key. Now, I said this on my last live. I think Ethereum are dropping bollocks here because they've let Gavin Wood go, who basically invented the virtual machine of Ethereum to Polkadot. Charles Hoskinson's Cardano. And then you got Luxo here, essentially, with, you know, the inventor, the creator of the ERC20, the most popular token in the space. It doesn't make any sense in my eyes, you know, when you look at that. But yeah, why is the BTC below 63? But below it is key, is because it's where historic levels have been supported. So when you look and put a level across the chart, now this is sentiment based because it's a level, but if you put 63 in and around, you got this level here in 18, you got these levels rejection, you got support there. it's been held at this level for a few times. And when you look even historically, and I zoom it across even more, it goes all the way across. Sentimental wise, it's kind of an important level. You know, if you've got an investment strategy where you'll only buy Bitcoin when it's under a certain level because it's cheap or whatever way you want to do it, you know, it's important to know how the dynamic works of any market. If I just make this a little bit darker so you can see it, you know, when you look at that level historically, it's kind of like a really big marker to understand, is Bitcoin overvalued? Should I be buying it at this point versus altcoins, or should I just be stacking altcoins? You should be. Anything above this level, stacking altcoins, in my opinion. Anything above like 65 plus, right? If you've got Bitcoin, percentage of that into the altcoins, boom, get them at lowest prices. That breaks that, and I think if it does break that, by the way, and it breaks actually 57, which also has a lot of meaning as well, and it goes sub 50, wow, it's going to be very, very interesting, because a lot of the altcoins will run further because of FOMO. And you think, if you're starting with a pot of Bitcoin and you sell it into Bitcoin at the end of it, and when it's got quite low and you're starting to like take profits gradually, you know, when Bitcoin takes, we all know Bitcoin's going to take off again, it's going to murder altcoins again. You know, not in USD prices, but in BTC. So you're going to start seeing all these charts like VeChain, for example, on the deck. You know, it's been a lot higher, it's low again. It will happen all the time. It will always synchronize. And that's the important thing that we all need to understand. And it doesn't matter what you hold. If you're taking a little bit off the table every single time that happens, when Bitcoin's rampant and like going turbo, and the dominance is going up to 70 again, boom, you're going to win, and you're going to accumulate Bitcoin, and you're going to accumulate essentially altcoins at much lower prices with much better bags, essentially. You just got to be very much careful how you do it. But yeah, there's loads. What else have we got questions wise? Give me a less popular coin you think will pop. Ooh, I don't know. Hard one, that one. There's a lot that will pop. I think a lot of the DeFi ones will pop anyways. I think depends. I think XRP, right? Weirdly, if that lawsuit's dropped, I think that will get a lot of emotion. I think that a lot of people will buy that just out of sentiment value, just to trigger that. I think that one might be an interesting one to keep an eye on, but it depends on the lawsuit, obviously. But I think if that news is released, that lawsuit is dropped, I think everyone will buy it. And I think as well, we all know what the XRP army are like. They always buy tops. I know, but it'll probably create even more drama. It'll be quite funny. H-bar. H-bar's decent. I covered it not too long ago. I think people are a little bit confused by it. But when you look at H-bar, it's popped. It's found a bottom. And it's got a long way to go. And I mentioned this in the video. If this even retraces to 382, which is not far away, that's still, like, in 3 weeks, that's done nearly a 300% move. It actually stopped at the first level of resistance, technically. So it's quite, you know, it's staggering how much these have popped. A lot of coins that are undervalued, you'll know instantly by looking at them when they do pops like this. And what happens is they get free eyeballs, don't they? Like, you go onto CoinMarketCap and you're like, right, on the app especially, you see it and it's like, what's growing the most? Oh, okay. You know, you see it all the time. It's really quite funny. So if you start looking at like daily volume, you start seeing what's doing what, and you start seeing, well, bloody hell, that's done a lot of volume. You know, it's like random as hell. But it's quite funny when I see people, because most people talk to me when things are going well, you know, when things are like popping, you know, oh, it's done 300% in a week. Can you do a video on it? You know, you got to be careful, but it's all free eyeballs when things go well, because it's on social sentiment records like Lunacrush. It's on, obviously, CoinMarketCap. It's like, when you go on the app especially, it's like, oh, top growers. Oh, okay. That's pretty good. But for me, I think like any good project with a solid team, solid partnerships, will always rise to the top. There's a lot of junk. We know there's a lot of junk in this space. We do. And they always get promoted by the same old people. You know, you've got to be very much careful with who you listen to. But it's cool. It's cool if you know what you're doing, essentially, in that way. But as long as you're fine, you're absolutely fine. What else have we got? Question. We've got loads of questions. Chainlink, $1,000 per coin. I don't think so. I don't think so. $1,000 is a massive stretch from this point. That will, God, I don't even. What would the market cap of that be? That would be staggering. Oh no. Nah. I don't know. I think That'll be monstrous. That'll be into the trillions, won't it? $1,000. Who knows? Maybe. What other questions? I've got some interesting ones. People saying I got a Manchester United shirt underneath here. I definitely do not. Pinky. There's loads of people asking questions. Electronium been mentioned. That's a shit coin. Dump it. I'll be honest with you. That's not going to do well. Doesn't have the minerals. It doesn't have the use case to kind of have interest or innovation. You got to think innovation as well. Like a lot of things, like the innovation of DeFi is important. The innovation of interoperability, the ability to like synchronize with big blockchains, the likes of Ethereum, Polkadot, Cardano, etc. Like, that's important. A payment mechanism system that works mainly in Africa is not really going to get people that turned on. Like big money, smart money turned on, in my opinion. But you got to look at partnerships as well. Like the partnerships are huge. It's savage. When will Ethereum get to 2K? I think it's, something. I don't think it's far away. I mean, I kind of discounted that not too long ago, but when you think of the popularity of it, and you look at this, this dominance chart of like, the BTC going down and this is going up, it depends on, in terms of USD values, it really depends on stability of Bitcoin. If Bitcoin stays at 31K and this goes up, say, to this level, it'll do it instantly. It'll do it very, very quickly. It'd be nice when it does do it. But it's that whole level, like we've got on the 8th of February, we've got the CME futures for it. That could be interesting. If that does happen, obviously, most importantly. But, I'm just hoping it doesn't just dump like last time, aka the BTC one. How many likes have we got? 336. Come on, we need more than that. We've got 813 people viewing this, man. And also, if you're bored, feel free to jump in the Telegram if you want to. Obviously, chat shit all day, because I usually chat shit all day, or football, or something stupid. Don't want to talk about football, it's a sensitive topic at the minute. Hey mate, technology. In terms of trading and technology, just look at fundamentals. If you're a positional holder like me, I like to pick coins or like investments for periods of months on the technology, like the fundamentals of what's happening. Like some RSR, for example, I like what they're doing as a purpose. I like the team. I like the partnerships. I like that there's been no mainnet yet, because that always gets a little pump, top tip. So I've got that in my bag. I'm like, yeah, cool. I like this for the long term. Even if it's like a year hold, take a bit off the table, maybe buy back in when it's low again. If the dominance goes skyrocketing, I will always keep an eye on stuff that I like. But don't be married to a coin. That's the biggest bit of advice, because I've been burnt so many times doing that. Because fundamentals change, and sometimes coins lag. And you've seen a lot of coins that were doing well in 2018, but now are pretty much shit. Look at OneChain. The hype on OneChain was through the roof. Who's heard of OneChain these days? Not many people. It's like one of those things. Like Icon, another one. There's more coins that are more, got more eyeballs and the likes, even though the technology is quite good. So you got to be careful with like certain things. Always hot developments, social factors like community-based levels of like how much influence and how much engagement do they get when people talk about them. That always helps, in my opinion. So, if you are trading, always stick to the top volume coins, the ones with a bit of like, stuff, exciting stuff. Like look at Polkadot, for example. That's a great one as an opportunity. I still think quite low. I still think we'll get some really good swings on that. But there's loads. Like you've got to be careful though what you pick. I mean, there's a lot of things that people buy based off what people say. You've got to do your own eyeball check, essentially, for me, as a personal opinion. But everything's quite fun. There's some interesting questions. I personally, fundamental wise, do I like ADA or Cardano or DOT more? I think DOT. I just like DOT more. I think I hold both. I just prefer DOT. Personal opinion. I think there's more to it in terms of fundamentals, in terms of how it kind of will work, and I think there's more hype about the likes of PokerStarter in terms of how many projects are going on the DOT ecosystem at the minute. And when you talk about like the likes of Cardano, it's not really as public. And I think Cardano's been around for so long. I'm kind of still waiting for the big turbo moment where something's just gone bang on it. And I've never really seen that just yet. Where you look at the likes of Polkadot, it's pretty new, live in the market, and it's already doing some massive things. So that kind of excites me, I think. Zilliqa seems to be lagging behind. No. No, it's been massively... When you think about it, Zilliqa is by far the most powerful blockchain in terms of sharding. It's already got big people building on it. It's got the Singapore blockchain network, all of it on it. It's obviously got the base of the Binance stable currency on it. It's doing well, but it's still not its finished article. You know, when you look at the fact of it's already went from literally basically 0 cents, you know, under a cent, to 10 cents very, very quickly, you know, it's doing all right. You know, that's fine for me. What else we've got questions? We've got loads of questions. 800 plus people, as I say, always smash a like. But let me know if you like this on Sunday evenings, by the way, because obviously this is new. I wanted to test it. I wanted to see what it's like. Give a bit more value, so to speak. And also, I quite like doing live. I think quite cool. Which other influencers do I hate? I'm not even going to address that. I'm going to address it, but I'm not going to tell you who I don't like. You probably see by my Twitter anyways. Do you generally cash out to Bitcoin before reinvesting? Yes. So in terms of how I work it, I always talk about Satoshis. So Satoshis for me is like the mechanism of growth. Always grow the sats, stacking sats, but in a bear market, I will allocate a percentage of that into stable currency, so I'm not getting as damaged, and you know I could also accumulate maybe if it's going down. But for one like element of this, it's Satoshis will always stay Satoshis. If it's in Bitcoin, you will never lose them. Yes, you may lose USD value, but if you've holding them into BTC or even a stable currency, you can lose Satoshis on that if you got on the wrong way of it. So you got to be careful. So I always tend to put it into BTC on a cash, and then ratio time, I tend to like flip a bit of it into altcoins when the dominance is high, and I could just keep rinse, repeat, essentially. It's really boring, but it's really effective, and I kind of like doing it. It's very relaxing. It's nice. Everyone is throwing crazy prices. Yep, everyone does though. I used to do, there was a time on my channel where I used to do wild predictions, where I used to like debunk what people would say. So I would highlight influencers or, you know, big websites who go, oh, VeChain's going to go to $75 based on the cat's poo cycle or something. That's random, right? And I was like, you know, it's like the biggest amount of money based on supply ever. How are you going to get that number? So I tend to debunk them quite a lot, but the thing is that I always do say as well, and I always maintain this, you don't know how high the crypto markets can go, but there is a degree of realism. I used to get ripped to bits by the XRP community, right? And I'm going to say this right now, I don't care. They come out with this narrative that the market cap of a coin and valuation doesn't matter, and technically it doesn't. However, there's a degree of realism of how much something said value will be worth, because at the end of the day, people can press the profit button. No one's going to allow, you know, the likes of XRP to get to like 10,000, which people always seem to believe is going to happen. But when you do the maths on that, it's like, what the fucking hell planet are you on, son? I can literally press the profit button at the top and go, hoo-hoo, I can buy America. That's what it would be like. It would be savage. And you know, you got to be careful with all these bullish predictions, and you just got to look at what is happening effectively right now in terms of the market. But yeah, it's always good. I have not added... when did I do that video, actually? In terms of, have I added any more new ones to my thing? I personally think the last one I've added was Pluton, only because I got the card. I thought, I'm going to buy the token because I'm going to get the reward. I'm going to buy some anyway. So it was a low micro cap coin, Pluton token. That's the only one that I bought. And that's it. You know, when I talk about that, all the other ones that I own and hold, like I've told you before, they're all, if you watch my videos, if I lean over, they're all these here. They're my coins, essentially. I do hold one Ethereum and I do hold Bitcoin, obviously. But my altcoins, essentially, are pretty much there for all for viewing, for transparency. I'm not going to change that because that's my overall opinion. I don't want to, you know, when people talk to me and they go, "Oh, you're covering this new coin. Do you hold it?" I'm like, "No, it's content. It's popular. People want to talk about it. People want to hear my opinion. I will cover a coin. I'll mention 3 or 4 coins that are quite good. But I'm very like, I'm rigid. I'm really rigid. I'm really like tight with my coins. I don't like to hold too many because when you're in a drawdown, try selling all your coins in a drawdown, especially if the ERC20 tokens. I've already got here. I've got ERC. I've got 4 ERC20 tokens, right? Essentially, give or take. Fun when you try and liquidate those. Not. You know, it's never good. Photon Theta token, or Theta, as 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 Andy likes to say, Operation Crypto. I like it. I missed the boat on that one, which is a bummer. But for me, there's plenty more things in the sea. How do I stop buying the hype? I just don't. I mean, I'll tell you what, the best way, right? If you are like, let's look at Voyager's a good example here, right? Voyager's done an absolutely monstrous run, right? And I was in this for ages, just sitting on it, right, for ages. And it obviously did this massive impulse. It bang. It did like 1,000% in a matter of like what two weekly candles, right? You've basically got to do a correction retracement like this, and you got to think, well, where can I buy this? When you start zooming in on this and you start going onto the lower time frames, and you look at this, obviously it's correcting. It's correcting. Where would you rather buy? $1.47 or 63 cents? Well, 63 cents essentially, and then you dollar cost averaging from that point. And that's how you don't buy the hype, but you buy something quite good, potentially. So if you've done your research, obviously, but there's a lot of people that do miss boats, and it happens, but you've got to wait for the correction. You've got to wait, because there's always that element of how much do I miss the boat, or do I miss it completely? When you look at Ethereum, right, you look at $200 at Ethereum at the start of the when was it? Not that long ago, was it? 6 months ago, give or take. If you were like thinking $400 quite expensive, I'll wait for the retracement, and then obviously it goes and over 1,300 now, isn't it? It's crazy. As long as you are telling yourself that I'm buying the dip and I'm buying the solid retracement that I'm quite happy with, it doesn't matter, because ultimately, if your dollar cost averaging into that point, if the fundamentals stack, if the development stack, if what's coming stacks, fine, but don't just ape into things, because you will lose. And look at that. That's a great example here. Look at Chainlink. Chainlink is another good example, right? When you look at Chainlink, right? And everyone, cat, dog, sausage, the fridge, everyone in your household wanted Chainlink at one point. It retraced massively. It retraced so much. And when you start looking at like how much did it retrace, it went perfectly to the 618 levels. It wicked all the way down to $7.33 at one point. Great. You bought into the hype, but you bought in at a decent little price essentially. So you've got to be careful. But all kinds of stuff is happening in this market. And you think innovation, DeFi lockups, dominance is dying, crypto's mental, even FUD isn't even affecting us really. It's great. It's absolutely great, man. Loving it. What else have we got questions-wise? But yeah, I only keep about 7 altcoins. I don't include Ethereum as an altcoin, by the way, because it's kind of too big. God, there's loads of questions. Great input, by the way, tonight, guys. Thank you. Also, it's different on a Sunday. It's nice. But yeah, I'll be doing one on Friday as normal as well. So Friday, Sunday is probably going to be the routine, unless it's summer and I get the beautiful heat wave and I'm drunk and I can't do it. That'd be funny. But there's nearly 1,000 people in here, which is absolutely savagery. So yeah, feel free to share it, and obviously slap that like button, because there's only 457 people that hit that like button right now. I mentioned as well on my Twitter, I'll be doing a little giveaway soon, so keep an eye on them. They'll be a bit different. What are my 7 altcoins? So I'll go through my altcoins, right? So I have got BTC, I've got Ethereum, I've got Polkadot, I've got Cardano, all right? I've got, where is it? VeChain. I have got, I'm going to go down in the list here just because it's fun. And it's good content, obviously. Zilliqa, obviously. Zilliqa is my biggest hold, by the way, just to be there. Bought a bag. It was like my 4th smallest hold. Yeah. Reserve rights. I've also got Utrust and Voyager and Pluton token, which is like the low cap, which is like tiny levels. This one, because I own the card. And it's nothing much is happening right now, but one day, maybe, who knows? We'll see. But yeah, that's all I hold. If I was to hold a few more, I would have easily bought, there's quite a lot of coins I would have bought, to be honest with you. I'm not going to say any. I'm going to keep that under my chin just for now. Maybe in the next alt season. Who knows? My prediction on Zilliqa, it's random, right? Whenever I watch a podcast or an AMA with Zilliqa, and it's an American. They always say Zilliqa or something stupid. Like, what the fuck? Zilliqa. My prediction for Zilliqa, my heart says I want it to go to $1 because it could easily do that. It really easily, if you think about it, an absolutely savagery alt season like last time where it's parabolic, and let's say there's a big catalyst to say that the dominance is going to drop into, like, say, the 40s, because everything will go nuts, right? Not just Zilliqa, everything will go nuts, everything will go turbo, right? But I do think all-time high levels will be hit easily, especially when you see like the Ethereum bridge and stuff like that come in. When you see what's getting built on it, it's pretty savage. It's getting bigger and bigger, that blockchain as well. It's getting quite good, and the staking rewards are savage. Do you sell all your altcoins at the end of a bull run? No, I sell percentages. So I will sell a percentage. I will keep a core holding of them, and then I'll look to accumulate again. If I'm happy with the full gains throughout, I will maybe bin them, or if the fundamentals change. But if I'm thinking the risk reward's gone, or there's not going to be as bullish in the next seasons, I'll probably get rid of it. But as I say, it's all ratios essentially. Gets really, ratios make it easy. When you think, say, if your core holding, say, 60% Bitcoin, and you got 40% to play with altcoins, within that period where dominance is high, put extra into altcoins at that time, and then you take it out and you grow your Bitcoin even more. Just stick to those levels of ratios. You make it so much easier, and it's a lot less stressful as well. When should you take profits? Whenever it's up to you. Essentially for me, my reading is always a dominance chart. If the dominance is looking quite good, it's still sinking, and Bitcoin's chilled out and it's happy. But also, like, you got to think in the last alt season, just to kind of go back on that, some coins were doing some savage moves. Like, this was a big move. That was huge. Like, I took 263% off that. That was lovely. I did a video on that, and people were like, what? Why did you sell it? Because of this. And then now I'm like, yeah, great. I can learn that now. Ultimately, it's all about you as well. Like, in terms of, if you're happy with the percentage of profits, just go for it. Like, everyone gets really excited in a bull run because, like, oh, it's going to keep going. But the top, there is a top somewhere. You just got to find it. And you got to understand, if you make that decision in your head that I'm happy with this, I'm really, really happy with this. This is a great little move. Profit's profit. No one goes broke taking profit. At the end of the day, you've got to be relaxed. Secure the bags, as we say. If you ever in the UK and you get a Nando's takeaway, on the bag it says secure the bag. Just imagine that. Would a Bitcoin correction pull Ethereum back down? If it goes up, it will. If it goes down, no. Because we've been going down, 11k now, and it's still going up, so it's fine. Who else have we got on the stream anyways? There's 900. There's over 1,000 people watching this. That's crazy, by the way. I'm just a normal guy who's made a YouTube channel, and I'm kind of savage. It's savage, really, let's be honest. A huge appreciation, obviously. But yeah, keep smashing that like button. But if you've not joined, by the way, my Telegram, feel free to jump in. It's, it's free to get involved, obviously. 3,000 cool people. Can I follow you back on Twitter? Maybe, if you let me know who you are. I don't mind following people on Twitter, as long as you don't post random turd. Why are people laughing at me saying Nando's? Nando's is amazing. BTC, what percentage change? How many daily candles will you expect to see? All I look at, right, in terms of like dominance, just to put it out there, I look for a trend. So you can chart this in the exact same way as any other chart. It's looking shit at the minute. It's looking great. Bearish crossover. It's going into, it will bounce at some point. I think it will bounce somewhere. But it's a trend. If this is like the start of the downtrend, let's just say from this impulse, it might well pop back up a little bit. It might pop up that point, it might pop into it and then continue going down. And then the next wave will be maybe into sub 60, into the 50s, which would be nice. It's trend analysis. You've got to look at the trend. The trend is your friend, essentially. You've got to be careful. But the EMAs will always help you to that basic direction. Obviously, the RSI is really good as well. But this is like melty time. It's great. That's the greatest thing about it. Just basic trend analysis. At the end of the day, right, I'm already like 25% up on my BTC in this month alone, right? We've only gone from essentially 74 down to 63. If we go for it, the lower it goes, by the way, the more powerful it'll get, just to put it out there. That's why everything gets really interesting when the sats are low. And when you look at like how low altcoins go, and that's just why you see them go, oh, 10x, that was quick. But you got to think where they dropped. The lower it goes, the more it moves. Gets always fun. Do altcoins usually keep their gains? Nope. They always vanish. That's why you got to secure the bag. This is why like people get burnt. You know, you hear about obviously YouTubers, pump and dump groups, like things will pump, right? But they never always sustain in altcoins. Like apart from the odd few, like you could argue Chainlink. Look at Chainlink, right? How many people be pissed off that they wanted to buy it and they bought it like $20, for example? Like, oh, I'm gonna buy it, and then it went all the way down to $7, right, or whatever, $7, $8. It never sustained, did it? But now look at it; it's pulled back and gone. So, but what will happen now? It may well go to $30 and then pull back down to 20 again. Who knows? But there'll always be people that will buy the tops and they'll always buy them horrible things. And that's a beautiful thing about it. The markets will always punish people who are greedy. Don't be greedy because you'll lose every single time. All the time you will always lose. 23k incoming, maybe. I do think levels around 22 to 20k is going to be tasty. But we want it to be as slow as possible. We want it to be boring. Because if we want alt season to thrive, it has to be boring, and we need the trading volume to just vanish, and we want the likes of Ethereum to take the limelight. We want the likes of obviously Cardano, Polkadot, all the DeFi tokens to take the limelight, and people get excited. But we've got a problem with the headline news at the moment with Bitcoin and stimulus checks coming. People may go directly into Bitcoin because they don't know anything else, but that narrative as well, maybe, oh, Bitcoin's really expensive, I might just buy this. Oh, that might be quite fun as well when you think about it that way. So that could be quite fun. It's all kind of stuff. My views on engine coins, good. My views on Tronics, not so good, because Tron is run by an idiot who's only after his own fame, in my opinion. Yep, Jonathan got it right there. Bulls and bears make money, but pigs get slaughtered. Little piggies. Yeah, in terms of adverts, I do apologise. You will get scammers. Like on my videos, by the way, apologies for a fake crypto mobster. If you're looking on my little icon, it'll be like, I'll have an overlay over it. That's me. Anyone else is going, oh, by the way, if you go into my little group, I'll give you this WhatsApp number and you can make some money. They're scammers, honestly. There's not much you can do. I've used all the block words I can use. It's shite. An absolute nightmare. Reef. Should I have a look at Reef? I've never even looked at it. The only thing I know about Reef is it belongs in the sea. Let's have a little look, yeah. By the way, I don't know anything about this. It's obviously brand new. People are talking about it. I'm guessing this is the right one. Reef Finance. Should we have a look? Why not? Flashy website. I love a bit of purple, me. But yeah, I've never really looked at this, but I know people are talking about it. It's got a lot of investors, which is always a good sign, usually. Infrastructure. Liquidity. Oh, God. Yeah, I've never really looked at this, to be fair. But it's on that beautiful ecosystem that I rate heavily. I honestly do think people are sleeping on Polkadot. I think it will go to the moon. This saying that I said on a video, and I think people laughed at it. I said, don't look for the needle, buy the haystack. And I characterize Polkadot as a haystack. So, like you just buy the big thing. Boom. I bought that. And I've not really looked at many of the ecosystem coins yet on the Polkadot network. I've looked at a few. They didn't do very well. I'm looking again, but obviously this is one that's getting a lot of hype, but I've never really looked at it. So apologies. I will be looking at it at some point when it gets more interest, but I don't like to cover too many coins on my channel because I confuse a living shit out of people when I talk about coins, because like, what? Some people don't like it, some people like it, but I will do like little segments on coins. But I do think, and someone just said, what, you think Polkadot's cheap? I do. I think when you think of all the parachains going live in this year, likes of this, it's just gonna, the infrastructure of how it's built, it's gonna make the coin go turbo. When you think Ethereum back in 2018 with the ICO boom, we're gonna get this. I think we are gonna see the same sort of ilk of like investors flooding the market, looking for these new, fresh opportunities on a much better network at the time, which ultimately will be Polkadot. So that's quite exciting. But for me, there's a big gap to be bridged here. When you look at the fact of where Polkadot is versus where Ethereum is, 15 billion versus 152 billion. What would you rather buy? For me, it's Polkadot every single day. As much as I rate Ethereum for its popularity, I don't rate its use case. But I rate the branding, I rate the colors, I rate who's in charge of Polkadot. I rate the fact that, it's silky, it's slick, it works incredibly well. Try sending Polkadot around, it's great fun. Thoughts on EOS? Is it deed? I've not looked at EOS that often. I know that I think is a CEO left or someone, or one of the big managers or whatever left. In my opinion, it's not really. I don't remember this pumping hard over. Even when you look at the previous alt, it's not really moved much, did it? Whereas everything else, like look at the likes of Chainlink, look at all the DeFi tokens, look at the likes of like the growth in the market. It didn't really do much. I don't think it's expensive to buy Polkadot now. 15 billion versus 100 and whatever billion, 150 odd billion. I think there's a gap there to be made. Poker cover, next big thing. Yes, I've looked at that briefly. There's a lot of people talking about that in my Telegram at the minute. But I always try and, like, as boring as it is, I try not to look at these new tokens because I've got full bags. I'm like, I don't want to buy any more because I'm just going to ruin things. And, I'll ruin the ratios of what I started with. And you look at the likes of PokerStarter polls. I covered this not too long ago on one of the top ones you can look at investing in. I said this at the start of the year. This, yes, it's on the Ethereum network at the moment. It's going to go over to the Polkadot ecosystem, but there's demand for these tokens. There's demand for all of these little IDOs, as they're called. And here you go, future polls coming up. Paid network is one that's touted quite a lot. I know someone's actually a part of the advisory role of that. There's loads of these happening. They've already happened. They get filled like that. And they crash Ethereum, which is great fun. I love it when Ethereum crashes. I laugh because it's funny, because they can't handle the demand. And when you start looking at the element that demand is there for new tokens, Polkadot's faster and better than Ethereum in that way. It's gonna get people interested. It's gonna get demand. And when you start seeing these parachains being adopted by these companies that have got genuine eyeballs and genuine users, well, Polkadot's only gonna go one way, isn't it? It's just gonna go up in price. And that's a beautiful thing about it. And you got to be very much careful of what you buy in research. But, PokerStarter, the ability to, join into these ecosystems that are essentially Polkadot, it's going to get very, very interesting very, very quickly to see how many go on, how many people buy them, how quickly they buy them. And yeah, that's interesting. But I do think it's going to be interesting. But as I said with this, I buy the haystack, not the needle, essentially. I don't look for the needle in the haystack, where too many people do that. And you always see the people on Twitter go, oh, I bought this Uniswap coin that's done like 1,000,000x, whatever. They've probably bought 25 and they've just got lucky on one. It's just got to be careful. But yeah, a lot of people are asking about DOT, which is pretty cool. Duck Starter could be bigger than Polkadot Starter. I don't even know what that is. Duck Starter? I've not looked at Avalanche yet. I do need to be fair. The problem is, right, I'm only one person, and the market has evolved that much. Like, when I think about what I do in my normal life, I run a company, an education company, which is obviously my primary thing. My YouTube's actually second, weirdly. And, when I look at like free time I've got to look at tokens, I don't look at certain times. So that when this period now of when dominance is dropping, I don't look at tokens because I don't want to buy more. I stick with my bags, I stick with my guns, and I go for that. When dominance starts going high or starts trickling high, or I've taken profits, I've got like 2 to 3 months to just sit and be boring and look at coins, which is fun, but at the same time, it gets interesting because you start finding all these new coins that are out. And they get absolutely savaged by the market in a bear market, and you want to see how they react. And when you start seeing them bounce hard, like the Chainlink, bounce really hard, did very, very well. Like the Cardano did very, very well. Obviously, these big coins. So you got to be careful with what you kind of buy, and that's why research is vitally important. Do you think PokerStarter can have the same USD value? No, probably not. I think the supplies are totally different. Let me have a look. I don't even know what the supplies are. Got to be careful with supplies on coins, by the way. Yeah, it's only got, oh God, it's only got, no. Maybe market cap, probably not, no. But when you think value in USD, definitely not. Polkadot and, any other, like look at KSM as well, Kusama. The supplies are chalk and cheese. Obviously, people will get confused by that. But as long as the market cap's all right, but this has only got a 64 million market cap, which is quite low in my opinion. But it's not really got a use case in token utility because no one's buying the token to buy into it. It's just an ERC20 at the minute. When this does go into the the beautiful side of Polkadot, it'll probably be a bit different in terms of how it'll work. So maybe long-term prospect, it could be a different kind of element, but it is literally on the ERC20 at the minute, so it doesn't really have much of a utility as it stands. It has some trading volume, obviously, but not on big exchanges, so that may well do well over time. But be careful with, token utility. You got to be careful with that. Some go the other way around. Like literally, some do go the other way around. Some will belt feed token supply. Some will obviously be de-inflationary, which is better. Thoughts on Holochain? Not looked at it for donkeys. Don't know what it's doing. Covered it like 2 years ago. Graph. Ooh, should we talk about Graph? I talked about Graph recently, and people, like I said before, people wanted it. Oh, I want Graph, it's amazing. And like literally here, I was like, wait for the retracement, boys and girls. We went all the way down to what? 25 cents. That's savage. I might actually have the chart somewhere. Bear with me. Let's have a look at Graph, because I think it's important to know how, let me have a little look. Is it GRT? It is GRT. Let me just see. So, yeah. So I covered this when it literally launched, and like people were like, oh, I want this, I want this, I want this. It's like the best thing ever. And I was like, guys, wait for it, because obviously the hype is going to take everything, right? The hype does. Like Polkadot, when it first came out, boom, it went up to like $7, it went down to like $3, whatever it was, and then off we go. This is going to be the same sort of thing. It's got great little fundamentals. It's quite decent. It's quite a big coin, realistically, when you think about it in terms of launch. But like everything, you got a dollar cost average, and you got to be careful and strategic. And when you start thinking, well, let's just look at the opening candle. I know it's a bit wishy-washy, but when you start thinking, well, what happened to it? Well, it retraced quite nicely when you think about it. If you were like thinking, well, you know what? I'll dollar cost average around there. If I get it at 30 cents, happy days as a round number, go for it. I mean, people are too scared to wait, and that's a patient thing with it. And if something, if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. You just carry on, let it go. No, I'm not going to start singing the Frozen song, but you got to let it go, essentially. If that does happen. API 3, oh no. I'm going to start buying coins tonight, aren't I? I'm going to be like messaging people on Twitter going, shit, I've just bought this, that, and the other, because I'm doing shopping. I've not really, I'll be honest with you, I've not really looked at it. I know that people are bullish on this. I know people are excited about this. I'm pretty sure this is the right one, isn't it? Yeah. So I think the only thing that I understand about this is it's going to remove the element of third-party, I think, oracles and stuff like that, which makes it better. But I've never looked at it fully to kind of get a good gauge on it, and I know people are excited about this one. As you can see by the partnerships, there's quite a lot of them. Ooh, some very good ones in there. But yeah, I don't want to buy any more coins at the moment, which is kind of the bummer. But that being said, I do need to cover a few. My plan on Wednesdays, by the way, is like a research bit, like cover a few coins. So I might just do like a bundle of coins that are quite like oracles, for example, the top oracles, maybe top payment networks or whatever. But maybe just something simple, just to kind of like see what's looking quite good for the week or the month as well. Like looking decent on breakouts. But yeah, this has pumped, as you can see, in terms of pricing. This was what? When was this? Even in January time, early January, not too long ago. It's doubled pretty much, over double. Pretty good moves. But yeah, don't know much about it, boys and girls, I'm afraid. Don't know much about it at all. Do need to have a little gander, but yeah. It's great to have so many people on, by the way, just to let you know. Not even 600 likes yet. Hit the like button if you've not yet done it. Obviously, I've been here an hour now, so it's good to see. But let me know if you do like these Sunday evenings, because this is obviously going to be staying around, especially in the winter. Maybe in the summer it might change. It may change a little bit in the summer. But yeah, there's loads of people out here. Good. Yeah, there's too many coins. There is. Like, I often say this, by the way. Like, I know it's like a pain in the ass saying this, but 8,300 coins. How many will survive? Don't know. At the end of the day, it's fundamentals that are going to drive this market. A lot of people were saying to me at the start of like this year, oh, the likes of Zilliqa's dead, the likes of this is dead, the likes of that is dead. It's like, well, is it really? It looks strong. If the team develop, it's brilliant. If the team develop what they say to do, that's the main thing. And I know people want to get involved in this market and want to talk about all kinds of stuff, but at the end of the day, we are early. We are so early in this market, and like I don't think people realize that fully yet, but we'll get there eventually. Thank you for saying that you're I'm your favorite. Hopefully. Where do I buy Polkadot? So I buy Polkadot on Binance. Binance is like the key one for me. I use Binance for pretty much everything realistically. It's usually the best place. Verge halvening. Not a clue. In terms of halvening cycles of Verge, I don't really know much about Verge itself, other than I'm not really a biggest fan of it. But yeah, there's loads of like. The problem is, as I said, there's too many coins, far too many coins at the end of the day. It gets very much interesting when you start trying to unravel them. When I was first in the bull run, how often? Oh, honestly, checking my portfolio in like 2017 was unbelievable. Like, I did a video about it in terms of how quickly things moved for me. You know, as an opinion, like, I've never seen anything like it. My life changed everywhere. It was savage. And when you talk about like what I started off with and what I ended with was like different gravy. Yes, I lost quite a bit with inexperience, but like learning that whole process is valuable. There's a lot of people in the space here that have got YouTube channels, that have got, you know, big influencers on Twitter who have never ever experienced anything like it before. I seen someone recently actually talking about this in terms of like, I think this was right before Bitcoin hit 20k, and they were like at 16k. I've never seen Bitcoin this high. They had so many followers. Like, what? How long have you been in this space? It's like, whoa, that's scary when you think how many followers that they've accumulated, but they've never experienced a parabolic run before. So you got to be careful in that way as well. Experience, and I've always said this, I've always maintained this, time in the market is better than time in the market, because people can time the market and they vanish. They vanish very quickly. Like a lot of people who were in the space back in 2011, 2012, they're no longer here. They're like, they're done with it. You know, you got to be careful, but at the end of the day, it's always good. So in 2016, right, I bought a bit of Bitcoin, bought a couple of Bitcoin, right? Not much. But in 2017, I then bought some altcoins. I was on Bittrex and Poloniex back in the day. This was before Tether was really a trading thing. I had $2,000 in essentially altcoins. And between the start of that year, February time, so I bought like sort of Ethereum at $14. I bought Litecoin at like $5, give or take. All these coins, right? Bought Ant shares, which was essentially Neo at the time. That was $4 or $5 at the time before it rebranded. And it went mental, right? So in November time, I had about $16,000. So from the start of the year, 2,000 to 16,000 was amazing, right? However, from November to January, it went from like 16,000, give or take, the initial outlay was 2k at the time, up to $250,000. Crazy, I know. But that's the thing, it just happens. But even this year, when I think about my portfolio, how much it's grown, I've shared screenshots on my Twitter of like how much X I'm up this year alone. It's savage. And, you know, it doesn't feel like it, but when you dollar cost average in and you buy the likes of, look at the likes of Utrust at the start of this year, it was 1 cent, it's now 23 cents. You know, Voyager was what, 7 cents, it's now $1 odd. You know, all these coins have done well. Zilliqa was less than a cent, it hit 10 cents. You know, they all add up and they all accumulate. These little X's add up. And when I look at my overall portfolio and I think, well, I started off with this and I've got that, I'm like, whoa, that's pretty damn good. Now, you know, that's good. It just happens, you know. But it was 2017, it was so parabolic. I don't know if it'll ever happen again. But either way, it's crazy. But I've already seen it. I've already seen people make a lot of money in a short period of time, especially when you think of risk. Like, I've seen people put $5,000 into a coin. And I've seen people actually put $5,000 into the likes of Aave and Lend back in when it was Lend, like in 2019. I've seen people who made a lot of money with Theta as well. You know, it's just one of those things. You just buy something, and sometimes they just do well. If you look at the fact of, before we end this, let's look at Theta. Probably be a good example here. I know people that were buying in 2019 in this, right? And it doesn't look like, oh, it does actually. It's fucking savagery. You know, when you think like 2019 levels, we were buying it at like 10, 11 cents, give or take. You know, look at it now in terms of price. I mean, even if you go to the top, obviously it's huge, but even if you look at current live prices, that's a 20x. 20x. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, that is, if you've got a few of those in a period of time because you bought them low and you've discovered them, it's scary. It really is scary. Do I dollar cost average on the weekly or the daily? I always use the weekly time frame. It's always good for me. How much percentage profit do you take? It depends on the coin. It's an obvious question because it's an obvious answer. It's an obvious question as well because everyone's different. If you say, for example, Zilliqa, you know there's a lot of good things happening. It's quite low. You may want to take less profit out, but keep something in and understand that you may want to buy back in when obviously the dominance goes high again and whatever, you can go back in. But ultimately for me, if you feel that it's ran its race and you're really happy with it, you may sell it all because you may think, well, will it ever do that again? I don't know. But you can always go back to them, can't you? Literally, you can always go back to them. What else have we got questions-wise? Thank you for the money, by the way. You don't have to tip me. I'm just saying. But thank you, John. Absolutely awesome. Are you bullish short-term on Graph? Yes, I am actually, in terms of the market because of what it is. When you look at what Graph is, right, just to put it out there, if this is a full-blown alt season, we have the same as last time, Graph is going to do well. The reason being, it's going to say it on the first bit of the page, decentralized finance, right? What happened last time? What's happening now? All these markets are getting bigger and bigger and expanding. The lockups in DeFi is getting bigger. This has got a lot of ecosystem networks around DeFi. So utility-wise, it's going to help. It's going to help massively, and people are going to get eyeballs. And I was telling people, just chill out on this because it's going to be fine. But get a really good buy order in. If you are buying around that 25 to 30 to 40 cents, give or take, you've probably got a decent position because you can look at the volume already. It's decent volume. It's already listed on some very big exchanges already. It's on Coinbase, for fuck's sake. It's on Binance. It's got the eyeballs, it's got the coverage. So, if this alt season's like last time, and we're talking DeFi led, boom, it's probably gonna keep growing in my opinion. But again, it's all about risk reward. It's all about percentages. It's all about when you dollar cost average. It's all about how much you risk as well. There's so much out there. But yeah, it's all good. What other questions? I'm gonna end this soon, by the way, because it's getting quite late. Plus, I got a sweaty head. By the way, I'm not bald, just in case you're wondering. What else have we got? Questions. What percentage of stake do you get? And about Zilliqa, I'm only locked in about 20% of my stake at the moment, so I'm just staking 20%. That's fine. The thing with Zilliqa, and one thing as well, yes, it's great earnings, but you don't want to be trapped in it for 14 days. A lot of coins that do staking, they're always enhancing the network, and there's always like this little weird lockout period where you got to get them back. You don't want to be worrying too much about what you've got in your stake when, say, it moons. If it pops, you can't sell it. That sucks. So always have something that you can just sell just in case. He's not bald. He's from Yorkshire. I'm not from Yorkshire. Nearly though. Nearly from Yorkshire. So what if you're bald? Yeah, true. The problem is I've got probably too much hair. That's why. It's what it is, it's laziness. I didn't want to do my hair one day and I thought I'd start using a hat. But my hair was quite long then, so that was fine. I went from the military of being really, really anal with how I look now to looking like a bag of shit. Sorry. One of those things. John, you're a legend. Absolute legend. Appreciated massively. Price prediction for Ethereum. If it starts with a B and ends with an N, it's usually a bin. So I personally don't like Ethereum. It was made off hype. It was made off newbies. It was a cash grab in my opinion, for the founders, and it's slowly dying. Personal opinion. People hate it when I did a video on Ethereum about 3 months, no, about a year ago probably now, and I got so much shit for it, and now everyone's like coming back to me going, you were right, Gotta be careful with stuff like this. Really, honestly, like if you sit right as a point, and if you're holding it, I'll probably just made you cry or burst your bubble. But this is like an inflationary model coin, which is a gimmick of mining, right? So when I made a lot of money on Ethereum because the hype was amazing. Like this was the one that really got me going. And when I think about it, like back in those days, it was like $1 billion. Like there's so much more tokens out here now because it's just growing and growing because people are mining it and for no reason. Look at it, it's died. Like it hasn't even revived itself. It's still on. It's really is. Like if you think as well, in the ICO, they've made $40 million, right? Before the pop, before the explosion, before my portfolio went to Turboland, right? They must have made probably 120 million. All they did was bring out a app to sync to nothing and to basically stay off your device. You were mining it. Piss poor, in my opinion. And I think they've emailed me about 3 times as a marketing to get an influencer involved. I just decline every single time. Always fun. I made a video about Digibyte a long time ago. I did actually. Digibyte is one of the old school coins, but I don't think it'll be something that I'll ever buy. But it's like it's one of the dinosaurs, isn't it? But it's still, the thing is with Digibyte, it's still actually growing in the market, which is good. The dominance obviously killed the BTC pairs, which we know about. But like a lot of coins that are old, like apart from the likes of Litecoin and stuff like that, a lot of the old ones have died, whereas Digibyte's kind of got some good new elements to it, which is doing all right. But just be careful with, older coins. You've got to keep in the know with older coins to make sure they are actually still live and kicking. And there's so much out there, like new innovation, where these older coins, older chains have got to keep up. Trump won what? I remember I did a video about, what did I do a video on recently? Talking about stimulus and thinking, when the election malarkey is over with, I got about 10 comments going, Trump will never leave the White House. I don't know, I don't understand American politics, but it was kind of interesting to see the dynamic of people, who they want and who they don't want. It's crazy. Trump won a raffle, probably. Ooh. I'm going to end it very, very soon, by the way. I do appreciate everyone that turned out. Obviously, people who are tipping me, you're absolutely crazy. I don't need money. I need likes, so like my videos. But yeah, I do think, like, I know people are like wanting to make money in the markets, but honestly, it is like financial kind of experience here. It takes time. If you've got a system at play and you keep rotating and rinse, repeat, and don't change it, just stick with it, you'll be fine. And that's what I've been doing for the last, 2-3 years, and it's just grown my wealth over and over. But you've got to be very, very careful with excitement, overzealousness of wanting to do certain things quickly, and you're always going to get into that Twitter trap. If I go into Twitter, you're always going to get people go, oh my God, buy the dip, like, emergency video. Things are going to do stupid things. That's why I kind of like to use clickbait, because I think it's kind of funny at the same time. But, it's scary when I talk about people's influence in the market. Just be careful. Just be careful, because you will literally get spat out if you are FOMOing into things, which is always good fun. But yeah, hope you enjoyed. I want to end this now. I will be back, obviously, tomorrow. Video. Probably news-based related stuff. We'll see what I can talk about, what's happened over the course of the weekend, potentially. I've not really covered here. But maybe, I may just do an Ethereum-based video and pump the living shit out of it because it's fun. Emergency, Ethereum's going to go to $1 million, maybe. Who knows? But yeah, thanks for turning up. Don't forget to leave a like. There's 700 people liking the video, so make sure before you leave, slap that like button very, very hard. But yeah. Appreciate it. Enjoy. Have a good evening as well.